Alright, so in this video tutorial, I'm going to cover basically just putting the joints inside of a character, just to kind of lay them out and all that. Okay, so I'm just going to use the same character we used in class, this Cecil bird or whatever that I made from before. Alright, so let's get to it. Usually I like to start with the leg just because I feel like it's the most straightforward. Alright. So if you look, first off, the first thing you want to do is just make sure that this looks all good and that the geometry is fine and suitable. A lot of times it's a good idea is to go to Mesh, go to Cleanup, and then that moved over here. But do Cleanup Matching Polygons, apply to selected polygons. You don't want to happen everywhere. You don't have to click any of these. These are minor things. Oh, except for face with more than 4 sides, because I don't want any 5-sided n-gons. Laminate faces, non-manifold geometry, edges with 0 length, and faces with 0 geometry area. Okay, so basically all this is going to do is try to fix if there's an error. And then you hit clean up, and then it will fix it. I modeled this, and I'm an awesome modeler, so there aren't any errors to be fixed, but it would fix that. The other thing to do is hit 3, and look to see if you see any like lines, especially in the center you tend to see them because they didn't snap the vertices. Also, if you see like, and often this happens like right around the wrist or in the arm somewhere. If you see a line that goes all the way around, that usually means that you have faces on the inside. So you have to like get inside here and then look to see if there's a face. So you can see I look down this arm, see if there's a face there, and then delete it if it is there, and then it'll flow properly. Okay. So once you're happy with that, you're just going to look at the topology, and it looks okay. This character is meant to be relatively low poly. He's not too high, so I'm just going to go ahead and put his joints in. So I usually like to start with the leg, just because I feel like it's the most straightforward. In a lot of ways it doesn't make sense to do that one first, but that's just how I roll. So the things I really need to base my joint placement off of are basically anatomy, right, and geometry. And then after that, animation needs and such. But really, those are kind of the two things. So naturally, the geometry should also have the anatomy built into it in a sense. I mean, so obviously he has an arm, right? And that's an anatomy thing. He has an elbow. So I might make some adjustments. But the first thing I really want to do, especially if it's a cartoony character, which generally that's what we're going to be doing, in order to make sure it's good deformation, is I want to find, you'll see each one has 3 edge loops as like, the primary. The fingers might be a better example. See how there's 3 here, then 3 there, then 3 there. So each one of those has 3 edge loops. Okay, I want to find the center of those 3, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edge. I'm going to double click on this edge, so I grab the whole edge there, and then I'm going to switch this to, let me see, do we have, oh, let's see if I can make a cluster on edge, see if they fixed that. They did. Beautiful. Used to have to switch modes. So what that's going to do is it's going to make a cluster. So the cluster isn't really all that great. What it does is just, it's basically like a handle for whatever you have selected, like vertice wise. But what's nice about it, the reason I'm using it, is it puts it right in the center of that loop, right? Because that's what was selected. So I'm going to go right down the line. And I'm only going to worry about the one side. So I'm going to double click on this. I'm going to hit G to make a cluster. I'm going to go down here. And then I need to put one right on the ankle. And I'm going to put that right here. And I'll hit G. All right. And then I need to put one... I need to put one right here for the ball of the foot. Okay, G. So I got the leg there. That's pretty good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one right. I'm going to double click on here, and is that where I want it? Double click here, and I'm going to double click here, and that way it'll go right in the center of all of these, and then I'll just hit G. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of go up the line here. So I'm going to go to edge, and I will double click this one, and I'll hit G. And just because I want these to be relatively same distance, I'm going to grab this one, hit G, edge, and I'll hit G, edge, G, G, and G, G. And I basically want to go up to right about where the armpit is. The reason why is that this is actually hard. I mean, you don't bend your torso. So, and actually that one's kind of good anyway. So something got messed up there. Oh, you know what happened? When I double click, see how it doesn't go all the way around? Because it doesn't know which way to go. So I'm going to go over here and double click on this one. That way it's in the center. Now I'll hit G. There we go. It's better. Okay. Now the next thing I need to do is, actually I'll just keep going up. So the next one is basically the neck and other stuff like that. So I'm going to go to basically the base here. You can see it doesn't go all the way around, so I'm just going to kind of double click where I can to try to get this edge loop to go all the way around. Okay, so we're going to call that good, and then I'll hit G. And then I need to do the head placement. Now if you look, because I made this so low poly, there's no real nice edge loops up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch to a profile view. I'll hit A to frame all. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to click this and then hit F to frame. And I'm going to put roughly where I think that middle of the head is. And I'm going to say it's right between here, right? So I'll just hit G. Actually, you know what? I'm not really happy with that. So I'm going to go back to vertices. Maybe I'll grab these ones. Does that look good? Yeah, we'll do that. G. I can always move it afterwards. Okay. And then I'm going to put a vertice right at the top of the head here. So we'll say right between these two is roughly where the top of the head would be. I'll hit G. Okay. And then I'm not going to worry about the jaw right now. Okay. Switch back to perspective view here. All right. Okay. So now I'm going to go over here, hit A to frame all, go to vertex, I'm going to click and drag over this area, hit F just so it frames on there. And I need to make a clavicle. So I'm going to say it's roughly in this area. And then I'll hit G. And that might be a little bit, oh, that's not too bad. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my shoulder. Now, this is a little bit tough because really, actually, I didn't do that good a job on the shoulder because it's kind of pulled out here a little bit. So I'm actually going to kind of compensate and do this middle one here. And then hit G. And I'm going to go to edges. You can see there's clearly three. That's clearly, oh no, it's right here, sorry. So that's the elbow. I'll hit G. And then I got to go to where the wrist is, which I'm going to say is between these two. That's roughly where the wrist is, I would say. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go with this one. And then we'll do G. And then I am going to wait on the fingers. I'm not going to concern myself too much with that. All right. So now what I did is I made a bunch of clusters, okay? I'm going to use these as guides, basically. So the next step is to do this. I am going to go to Show, and I'm going to turn polygons off, okay? Actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll just do that. Okay. Okay. So I got the polygons off, and all you see are these. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a CV curve that goes around this. So I'm going to go to Create, Curve Tool, CV Curve Tool. I'm going to hit the little option box. This is going to pop up. I'm going to change it from cubic, which draws the curve like this, okay, to linear, so it draws a straight line, okay, because it's a little more accurate. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw one for each limb. So I'm going to hold V for point snap. I'm going to point snap it, boom, 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 and then I should have drawn one for the end here. So, well, we'll just do it anyway. So like that, and we're going to call that good. All right, and then I'm going to hit Y to bring it back up. I hit Enter to execute. And I'm going to draw one up for the spine here. So I'm going to, again, hold V to point snap. Boom, 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 boom. Good. All right, I'll hit Y to bring the tool back up. I'm going to hold V for point snap. Clavicle to shoulder to elbow to wrist. Good. And then I'm going to hit Y again to bring the last tool up. I'm going to go V. I'm going to go ahead and draw from here up to the head. And hit Enter. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click and drag over everything. I'm going to hold Control, click and drag off of each one of these little lines. So I have all the clusters selected, and hit Delete. I just wanted them to snap these two. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is I am going to go to Show. Actually, I'm going to go over here to the Attribute Editor, and I'm going to go to Component Display. I'm going to click on Display Components for each one of these. Okay. So I went to the Shape Node and Display CVs. That way, you can see each one of the points, because that's actually where my joints are going to be. Okay, so you can kind of see how that works. That looks okay. Good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show my model again. Go back to polygons, turn that on, and I'm going to turn on shading, X-ray, and that way I can see the CVs on the inside. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to turn off geometry selection by clicking this up here. This might be collapsed for you, so just make sure it's expanded. That way I don't accidentally click on the geometry. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to adjust this curve now. Oops. Dirty dog. I'm going to adjust this curve. So I'm going to do this because that's not really working as well. I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn this back on. I'm going to take this model. I'm going to add it to a new layer, and I'll just call it Geo. Hit save for geometry. And I am going to template it, or reference it. And that way it won't get in my way. Okay. So I'm going to look at this, and I'm actually going to turn on wireframe unshaded as well, this button right here. And I'm looking at it, and really the hips are actually not quite in the middle. They're actually out more to the side where the acetabulum is. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to pull it up and over this way a little bit. Okay. And I'm looking, and I think that's okay. Just a touch. Okay. I'm going to look at the knee here, and the knee actually is not generally, it actually bends from the front. So I'm going to pull this forward a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to take this ankle here, and I'm looking at it, and I'm going to pull it down and over a little bit. And then I have this, and this is actually, when you think of your ball, it bends from the bottom, so I'm actually going to pull this down like that. Okay? And that looks pretty good. So then I'm just going to go to the next one, and I'm going to go to object mode. Got to make sure I'm over it. Okay, control vertex, control CVs, and I'm actually going to go to the side view for this one. And again, we're going to go shading, X-ray, and then that should be good. So I'm just looking at it. See how the spine looks kind of yeah. So I want to make it simpler. It's a little too complicated of a curve. So I'm just going to grab these and try to make it more curvilicious, if you will, so that it's just more consistent. All right, so I'm just manually pulling these, trying to make it look a little bit simpler in a sense. Okay, so you see how I made just a simpler line. I just don't want it. And I also might like spread these out a little bit. So like I'm looking at this one, I'm move this one up a little bit more, just so that it's a little more even. Maybe grab both of these and pull these both down a little bit. Okay, so there's a nicer curve there. Okay, and I'm gonna look, actually we'll go back to this view and make sure that this is indeed straight. It looks like it's straight. It should technically be straight. All right. And then I'm gonna look, that looks okay to me, so I'm gonna go to the next part here, and I'm just gonna go to the side view again because I feel like it's just a little bit easier. I'm gonna turn wireframe unshaded so I can see what the geometry looks like. Okay, so I'm looking at this, and I think the neck could be a little bit more like there. Okay, oops. And then the head, I'm thinking a little more here, and the top of the head, I'm actually gonna go more like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's look at the arm. And okay, so this is the clavicle, right? So it needs to come back and forward a little bit more. Something like that, and I think that's okay. The shoulder, I'm just gonna move it up and over this way, move it out this way just a touch. And take this, and like before with the elbow, it needs to go back towards, or like the knee needs to go back and towards that area. Okay. And then this, I think, was okay. Okay, that looks great. All right, so now what I need to do is this. I need to fix these curves in order to make them straight. Because if you were to actually look at this, I'm going to turn this off. You will notice that this is not, see how it's kind of crooked? I need this to be straight, okay? So there's a lot of ways to go about doing this. But I'm going to try and do it in the most simple way that I can think of. So I'm going to go to modify. I'm going to go center pivot. So it centers a pivot on it. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold, I'm going to hit R for scale. And then I am going to go to a top view here. And that doesn't really work for me. Never mind. Oops. I'm going to go back here. Okay. So I'm going to try and get my camera angle so that it's roughly like what I think would be straight-ish. All right. And I am going to hit D for pivot here, and I'm going to rotate this in the axis like that. So see how like I try to put it in the same angle? What I'm going to do is I'm going to scale it flat like this, pull it towards itself, and now you'll see if I kind of see how like that's straight now. That looks good. So I'm going to do that for everything. I'll just take this one, and since this is already in the center, it should be fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and scale it flat. I'm going to take this one, do the same thing, and then the arm, I will also do the same thing. But this time I'm only going to grab these because the clavicle is not part of it. And then wait a second.